With bourbon's surging popularity the last few years, last decade, let's call it, aging stocks have been kind of hard to come by. And when you are finding these age statements that are 10, 12, 15 plus years old, you're paying an absolute premium for them. So it's a little refreshing when we can find a whiskey that carries a high age statement for a reasonable price, especially when it comes from a hot new brand like Penelope. Let's roll that intro. Hey guys, welcome back to T-Rod Whiskey. I am your host, T-Rod. But before we get into this review, if I could just have you guys smash that subscribe button, drop a like, leave a comment down below, let me know what you think of the video. Make sure you hit that bell notification so you can be one of the first to find out anytime I drop new content, which is at least a couple times a week right now. But getting down to brass tacks, to call a brand like Penelope a new brand would be kind of disingenuous, right? They've been around for a few years now, but it's only the last, year or two that they've really kind of hit that national spotlight. They received a very large buyout from, MGP, I guess, or Ross and Squibb, or whatever they're calling themselves now. But they now have access to this massive, massive portfolio of whiskeys to do some really, really cool things with. And we've seen some really nice offerings. The Rio that was finished in the Amburana and the honey, which is fantastic. The Havana that just came out and it was finished in rum and maple casks. Love that one. Their regular toasted barrels, some of those are getting some huge allocation prices on the secondary market. But the one that really jumped out at me and one that I've kind of been hunting for a while, especially because for years it wasn't really available in my market, but it has just become available in the Michigan market. And that one is the Penelope 17-year-old light whiskey. 38.8 proof, 17 years old, distilled at MGP. It is 99% corn with 1% malted barley. It is the difference between light whiskey and bourbon is fairly substantial, but the biggest one is it is distilled to proofs over 160, and it can be aged in used casks, whether it's a used bourbon cask or a different type of wood. I believe this is an ex-bourbon cask. It just says second fill oak barrels, so chances are it's an ex-bourbon cask that maybe they recharred and then aged it for 17 years. But previous releases of this were like 13, 15 years old. Proof was always in that 120 range. This one comes in and it's flirting with that Hazmat line at 138.8. We are less than a point and a half of proof from being legal Hazmat. So these hit shelves in Michigan, 3 weeks ago, and I was able to get my hands on one. Thank you to Adam from Nautical Liquor here in St. Clair Shores for helping me get my hands on this at MSRP, which I appreciate. MSRP on this is about $130, which at less than $10 a year, I don't care if it's light whiskey or what have you. Anything with an age statement and you're paying less than $10 a year is actually a really good deal. Now, what I would put on par with this, if maybe you guys can't find this, is Hoot & Young has been doing the light whiskey thing for a hot second. This is their Jack Carr 16-year release. This is about $10 a year. I think it's $155 plus shipping. This is also very, very good. Alternatively, you're going to pay a little bit less, but this is the Hoot & Young 12-year American light whiskey, but this is proof down to 92 proof. So you won't get the same proof, but it's a higher age statement, same mash bill, same distillery. So if you're having trouble, those are some alternates to maybe be on the lookout for. There's also a 15-year Hoot & Young that comes in around 125 proof, but nothing quite as specific as this. So I love the packaging on this. I love the etched glass. I like the band at the bottom, and each release kind of has its own unique color. This one being that like minty green. But you guys have heard me talk about it enough. I'm sure you're looking for tasting notes. So we are going to dive right into it. This is my first sip of whiskey today. So Probably going to hit me a little bit hot, but we'll see what we see. And I've collected quite a few of the Penelope releases recently, but one to look out for, guys, that's like sneaky good is the Takai cask finish. I know it's only 8 years, but it's actually very, very good, very fruit forward. I like it. Okay, so right off the rip, ethanol, right? Alcohol-y. Obviously not youthfulness. It's just the proof is there. The palate is going to be a little bit wonky. My sinuses are playing games with me a little bit today because we went from being like in the 30s to in the 70s to now back down in the 50s. So going to be interesting. But okay, on the nose, if you can look past that proofiness, if your nose is sharp enough to pick up things other than ethanol, right? Vanilla, corn for sure, oak, a little bit of like a butterscotch cream type note. Yeah, it's nose on this one is a little challenging if you're having any kind of issues or if you're just not used to super high proof whiskeys. But it's like a sweet corn, butterscotch, oak, little whiff of vanilla in there, like those like vanilla, like the wafer cookies that you get from the dollar store. There's just like a wisp of that in there. But it's very viscous, as it should be at its proof point. Like it is fantastic. It's got a really nice golden color, like a slightly pale gold. But yeah, I've had this one. I'm a fan, but we're going to get into it. Whew. Okay, so I will tell you, hot, 139 proof, drinking it cold, but still just rich, viscous amounts of caramel. These light whiskeys, for me, right, and it's not for everybody, caramel and butterscotch bombs. Sweet corn, caramel, butterscotch syrup, like what you would get at like a TCBY where you'd like, you pump it onto your ice cream. And it's just really, really, it's sweeter than what you might think. The nose is very ethanol heavy, very ethanol forward. The palate, it is not that. The proof is there, but there's no youthiness, not really burning. Caramels, caramel chew candy, a little bit of like a nougat that kind of comes through there, but it's very good. This is something that I would sit down and pour maybe my second drink of the night. I would start with maybe something like the 12-year-old from Hoot & Young if I'm looking to stay in that profile, or even some of these Essence releases from Evernorth. Yeah, this is a 7-year Indiana light whiskey. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Creamed corn, caramel. There is an oak char presence that's on the back of the palate, which makes sense that there's like an oaky note. It spends a lot of time in a barrel. Okay. The complexity is there, right? There's like a slight floral quality to this, slight herbaceous, but it's very minimal, right? So I think Penelope's done a really good job with this one. I know their 13 and 15-year releases were also very highly touted. This 17-year is fantastic. I didn't grab a backup of it. I had the opportunity, but I didn't. So if I'm going to assign a number to this, if I need to score this, right? I know there's people that can't get a hold of it. It's sweet on the palate, but that proof provides some of the spice. So it's very balanced. But it's also, for me, kind of 1-2 note. I would say like a 7.8, 7.9. It's good, not life altering, but very good. It's hot. So if you don't like high proof, this might be a challenge for you. I enjoy high proof. I just kind of usually got to work up to it a little bit. It's very sweet. This is a caramel butterscotch, just bomb, an explosion of sweetness. I really enjoy it. There's not a ton of complexity here in terms of other flavors for me. There's a little bit of like, maybe like a honey note that I could pull out of there. I'd have to really sit here and work on it, but just shooting from the hip, I think 7.8 is a good score. Yeah, I think they did a great job with this. I think the price is fantastic. I am a fan of light whiskey. Yeah, definitely. If you can find this for SRP, some states it's 100, some states it's 130. I would pay up to $150 for this release. I think that's fair. Maybe 160 if you really want to get your hands on it. I have seen it on secondary for around that $200 price mark. I don't know if I would pay $200 for this bottle, having tasted it already. But that's just me. If you really like Penelope, if you really like light whiskey, this is just a really, really good expression of light whiskey. They are putting on a clinic for what you can do with light whiskey. So yeah, 7.8. I would pay, at or just above SRP for it. I might feel differently if I have the opportunity. I might grab a backup of this because it is good. It's very sweet. So when I'm looking for that butterscotch, that caramel flavor, a little bit of honey, those are the things that I look for in this bottle, and they're the things that I have pulled out of this. I poured some for Courtney. She agreed. It was really good. It wasn't like life altering, but it was really good. So might grab another bottle if the opportunity presents, but that's where I'm at with it. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch this review. A lot more to come. Some really cool things in the works right now. I know I keep kind of threatening a Patreon to come. If we can get up to 500 subscribers, I think that'll kind of give us the base that we can work with, where a Patreon might be worth it, and ultimately get to doing some barrel picks. Maybe 1 or 2 barrel picks a year is kind of where I would love to be at, but we need some interest to be able to do that. So thank you guys, and I will see you next time. Cheers.